Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. Second round, we here. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Knicks versus Celtics. I got the Queen in the building. DJ Shuttle in the building. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling good. Super excited about tonight for sure.
I
Like a
am
mil-
too.
like $1 million.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Um,
Let's
I mean,
go.
yeah, we was built for this moment, this matchup, right? I think that was the talk right after the offseason, right after the moves were made. These moves were made with the Celtics in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right out the gate, first game of the season, first matchup, Celtics ring ceremony. We got our asses handed to us, and we haven't beat them all year, 0-4. But for some reason, I'm not feeling too worried. When I say worried, I'm not saying like I feel like we're gonna beat them. I'm just saying I'm not down on the series. I'm pretty happy where we are. We got better throughout the year. You know what I mean? As
Mm-hmm.
the season progressed, obviously, the last matchup against the Celtics was our best performance against them. Um, Definitely had a chance to win. Maybe foul where we up three in the final possessions instead of allowing a 3 point to go into overtime. We win that game potentially. But yeah, how y'all feeling about this matchup? Um, let's start with how you feeling in general, and we'll start with the negative. What's your biggest concerns? Um, you could start off, Queen.
Uh, looking
Shout out
through
to
my
the chat,
notes
by the
from
way.
last year. Yeah, shout out to the chat. Um, I have three concerns. One is that the offense becomes stagnant. And it becomes just Jalen Brunson dribbling the ball and not a lot of player and ball movement. And sometimes that's caused by the defense, right? So I'm not just saying that's all Brunson. Sometimes the defense um, can cause that, but I am a little concerned about that. I do think that Boston has good defensive players, so you want them to work as much as possible. Like you don't want to make it easy for them just coming down, taking quick shots, coming down. They just have to key on one person. So a little concerned about the stagnant offense. I'm a little concerned about the Knicks recognition, and by that shows up in a few areas, but the main one is not going to cat enough. I think the fan base puts a lot of emphasis on Josh Hart, and they put a center on him because he can't shoot, and that really messes up our offense. But we rarely talk about the flip side of that, and that is they're doing that because they also feel they can get away with putting a small on Cat, and we don't go to it enough because they're okay with Cat even scoring, I don't know, 16 points one on one. If they put in a small and he scores 16 points, they're okay with it. We don't go to it enough to the point where they say, "Yo, we're gonna have to take this big off of Josh Hart. We're gonna have to put it on Cat. Otherwise, we're gonna lose this game." And at that, we don't do enough. And I think my last concern is just the lack of bench play. And I think maybe that's 35% Tibbs getting contracted and tight about giving, guys, a little more minutes and more chances. But I think it's 65% that they're not performing in the minutes they do get. So those are my three concerns going into this series.
Um, that's a lot. I kind of want to break them down individually. So
Mhm.
just if you can hold
Sure,
those
sure, sure,
thoughts, and
sure.
I just want to hear Shuttle's point of view quick. Oh, you muted. There you go.
To first to give the one that definitely overlaps, bench play is concerning. Um, uh, what Steph said is, not performing and being a star in the minutes that you have,
Right.
and B is the quality of the bench players of Boston. Holiday's back, so their injury report is all clear. So they've got 4 very strong bench players that you know that they give quality minutes, and you don't look at it whereas it's the same without Tatum or Brown or Holiday or White coming out or even KP coming out. But
Right.
when these guys come in, it's not the type of drop off you get that you feel like when Brunson comes out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or even when Cat comes out and you put Mitch in and you got no scoring and you can't run the offense through him. It's not that level of a drop off. KP, his threes, Horford comes in for him, he hits threes. You know what I'm saying? You take White out, Pritchard comes in, he hits threes. He plays pesky defense. So, the quality of the bench of Boston versus the lack of quality of the New York Knicks bench is definitely my number one concern. Seeing and seeing Cat get used and abused on defense in the pick and roll is absolutely a huge concern for me. Got to definitely figure that out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
his mobility or lack thereof, especially on the switches, and like you got to communicate, and you have to do a better job of stopping the ball and just putting a hand up on the 3-pointer. But you can't just let them just matador defense and just and just go right by you. And and yeah, I guess I'd agree with Steph on the other matter too of the ball movement. It has to be ball movement. It has to be moving around. You have to make Boston play defense, maybe get them in some foul trouble, tire them out on defense so they don't have as much effectiveness on offense,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, that kind of thing. And of course, you got to keep the turnovers down, because you
Yeah.
can't give this team any free buckets. 3-point defense has been an absolute weakness, and you're playing against the record-setting 3-point, team. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Facts.
you have to also keep that in mind. And I don't know. I just feel like Boston is a team where you can do your best. You can focus on defense as much as you want, but if you're not going to outscore these guys, like you're gonna have to score some points. You gotta hit threes and you gotta score points. And whatever quality defense you get is amazing. And Tone, you just hit my queen like condition. You brought up the 3-point thing, you know, and the Knicks were almost a victim of this thing again with Detroit. So you just brought up my condition. I was, it almost happened again. And if Beasley wouldn't have fumbled that ball and made that shot, we wouldn't be talking about this game yet. We might be talking about Game 7 right now.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah, you muted there, Tone.
Pardon me. I want to start with the overlapping one for all three of us, and that would be the bench, right? Both sides. Um, Unfortunately, this is where I agree with some of that fan base with Thibodeau's usage or lack of usage and lack of building up the team, building up the supporting cast. I mentioned this in the past, but those Celtics players have been empowered on all levels. You know what I mean? From last man on the roster on up. You know what I mean? They've been empowered for years, which has built them to the point that where they are now, where they were last year. That's something that we don't do. That's something we haven't done. Uh, Thibodeau uses guys more by necessity for the most part, and then he'll ride with you by necessity. But when everybody has a clean bill of health, we see guys who have shown that they can make an impact be relegated to non factors, did not play, coach's decision. I think we need to utilize more of our bench against this Celtics team. It never has to be a collective, it never has to be a full 5-man unit substitution. You can stagger these guys, but I feel like guys that didn't play last series could be vital this series. Pressures being one of them for the defensive switchability. That's just another guy that you can put on Brown or Tatum for a few minutes and spell OG a few extra minutes, spell Mikal Bridges a few extra minutes. Let these guys have that full energy at the end of the game alongside with Brunson when the game matters. The second thing is we can't let the game get out of hand. If we can keep the game close, I have full confidence in Captain Clutch. I have full confidence that Brunson can take us home if the game is in a clutch situation. 5 points, 5 minutes. Unfortunately, the third game against the Celtics, it was a 4-point game in the fourth quarter. But when it came down to clutch time, it was just the time. It wasn't the we weren't within 5 points. You know what I mean? When it came to 5 minutes left in the game. By that time it's out of reach. Now you're asking too much for Brunson or the collective. That's what I got for that point with the bench. And anything you guys want to add to that point or thoughts on what I added to
it? I think that the primary defender on Tatum is going to be OG, and much like you saw Tibbs do with Cade, 90% of the time, if Cade goes out, then that's OG. That's your break time. If he's out there, then you're not getting a break. Oh, Steph, you just hit your screen.
I did. All right. Let me see what I can do.
It's rotated.
Yeah.
Oh,
there
we
bam,
go.
Bam.
Yeah. So I think OG will pretty much be stuck on Tatum for the most part, unless it switches, obviously. But I think he'll be the primary defender on Tatum. And if Tatum's in there, OG's going to be in there. Precious, hopefully, he can come in to give a break for Mitch or for Cat. I see him more as somebody that's going to be on Horford than or Luke Cornett. I can't imagine him on Brown or Tatum though. I think I heard you say Precious on Brown. That kind of scared me when you said
more so Tatum, but
either one of those. I don't know. I think Mikal Bridges will be on him before that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Precious sees some minutes. The way Boston plays, the way they push, the way they shoot, the way they put so much pressure on your team. You're gonna have to maybe give Shaman a little bit of minutes, Cam a little bit of minutes. Something's gonna have to give at some point.
Even Precious at the 5. If the Mitchell Robinson lineup is not working, if he, even though I think he is a good, I think he defends in space on the perimeter well. But if you got to give it a different look, even Precious at the 5, on Cornett or on Al Horford, I think could be vital. So I just think his defensive versatility could be a lot helpful in the series. And like you said, Shaman, we need 3-point shooting. If we're gonna compete against the Celtics, I don't think we have to match their output of 3-point shooting. I would like for us to match it, but I think we have to at least shoot at a good clip, and we need our best shooters out there. Like, so the percentage part has to be good. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah. A few issues. I agree with Shuttle. I think if Precious is going to get time, it's going to be for Mitchell Robinson, and I think that's probably why he didn't get minutes in that first game. Tibbs just chose to go with Mitch over Precious. I don't know if there's enough minutes to play both of them. Like if they're sharing minutes, depending on the matchup, probably Mitch is better, particularly, last series. In this series, I think he'll also go with Mitch, but Precious might be a better option at the five, because he can definitely defend in space out there. But the thing about it is they're not going to put the ball on the floor. Like KP, it's just a matter of you really need to get out there because he could be 2-3 feet beyond the 3-point line. So you need somebody that's going to get out there. Horford has been known to put the ball on the floor a little few dribbles just to get the big in foul trouble because they can't move their feet. So I think Precious would do good in that regard. Another reason why Precious might be okay is you pretty much limit Mitch's rim protection effectiveness when he's in for Cat and he's playing at the 3-point line, right? You don't really have that. He's out of rim protection position. And then when he is in with Cat, if you have Cat at the 3-point line and Mitch down at the box, uh, uh, providing they don't put both of their bigs up top, the problem is now whoever's guarding Mitch can crowd Brunson because they're not going to really pay a lot of attention to him. So that player can crowd Brunson a little bit. It does open up some lanes for offensive rebounding, right? If you don't really stay with Mitch. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. It's gonna in terms of what you're getting and what you're giving up when you play Mitch at the 3-point line, when you play Mitch down low. The other thing to keep in mind in that double big lineup is if Mitch is the 4, who's he guarding? If they have Horford in there and he's guarding Horford, okay. But if Tatum is the 4, as much as you feel like Mitch can guard in space, I don't think he can guard Tatum in space over multiple positions. We're not talking about just a switch out for a few seconds and switch it, So depending on how the game goes, you might see more Precious in this series.
And to me, this is where when I say concern, Tibbs is number 2 on my list. Just what are you gonna do to adjust? What are you gonna do to kind of match the matchups? You know what I mean? Are you gonna stick to your guns? My philosophy, this is the way I do things, this is what it is, or are you gonna say, if I use Precious, like you said, Precious may be better suited for this series. Can you figure that out? Can you realize it? And then can you utilize it? Shamit might be better for this series. Can you figure that out and can you utilize it? How long does he ride with Deuce? I don't think Deuce had a good series last series.
Terrible.
I think his defense was good. It was up to par. Not nothing spectacular from him.
I thought it was subpar, Tony.
I mean that's fair too, but it wasn't a detriment. It wasn't a detriment. Honestly, his defense is the only thing that kept him on the floor, in my opinion. It wasn't anything else that he was doing. So
I think it was Tibbs' trust in him that kept him on the floor.
I was thinking
because
the same thing.
He was going for fakes. That's not Deuce. He was going for fakes, getting in the air. Schroeder was just driving by him like he wasn't there. Like, that's not Deuce. Even when he's not hitting shots, he's keeping guys in front of him. He's disciplined. He's not going for fakes.
Game
Yeah,
one,
I think it's just
he was good.
Mhm.
I'll say this though, to your point, he probably got worse as the series went on. But he start game one. His defense was very good, even though his shooting was horrible. And now that you mentioned in these moments, I'll say that I think it got worse as the series went on. And Tibbs trusting him, probably Tibbs' usage with him decreased as the series went on as well. So that is a trend with Tibbs. It does take a while, but he'll lose faith in a guy after giving him his full opportunity. and maybe that's what it takes before the next man gets his opportunity. Hopefully, it doesn't take that though. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you could figure out how to test the waters in game a little bit. This
I really would like to see some DeLon Wright in this series personally.
he's another guy.
Wow.
He's another guy because of his length.
The switchability. I'll say it
Okay.
again. Switchability. That's it. And a team like Boston, I mean, if any team identifies with positionless basketball, it's Boston. And if you have DeLon Wright, I mean, let's just say he came in for Brunson and you kept OG and you kept Tatum, I'm not Tatum, you kept OG and Bridges out there with DeLon
Mhm.
Wright, and I don't know, let's just say Hart's still out there. The switchability amongst the four of them is so good. Um, I would just feel more confident with that versus, campaign induced. And considering their erratic play and inconsistency, I mean, at this point, I'm happy to see DeLon Wright get a shot.
Any concerned about him on the offensive end, his lack of shooting?
That's why,
It was only a small stint, but his shooting has been good when he played with with us. His shooting overall, like career wise, that wasn't one of his strong suits for sure. But I think his numbers this year with us have been good. It's just been a small sample size, right?
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, small sample size, but 47% from the field, 33%, from three, and for his career, 44.7 from the field, and 34.8 from three for his career.
So
And
actually, it's been worse. But
yeah,
Yeah, and it's really not even the percentage. It's due to will they respect it? Because
mm,
sometimes they'll give you even somebody who's like a 40% shooter. If they're only taking two or three a game, they like I'm not selling out my defense for this guy who's only going to take two or three of these threes.
well, here's the thing about him though.
Mhm.
He didn't turn down shots, which was encouraging when he played. He was aggressive offensively. But
Yeah,
yeah. So that's it. But I'm with you, Queen. Definitely, Precious is a better matchup uh, for the bigs that are playing outside in, if you will,
yeah,
more so on Boston.
right.
And another concern, which I was watching very closely in the series, which was for me is kind of the when you do the double big twin towers with Mitch and Cat. Is as challenging as it is just having them both on the court. To me, the other X factor with that is can you have Hart on the court at the same time with Mitch? And to me, the answer to that is no. But
No.
but unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, the coach did have them on the court together several times. And I'm like, man, listen, this is not what we need right now. We can't have two quote unquote liabilities out there. Obviously, they're not at the same level. Mitch is a
Mhm.
greater offensive liability than Hart, but I don't need both of them out. I don't need both of them on the court at the same time. We gotta you gotta weigh it, and you gotta put somebody else in for Hart.
I do wonder, is he concerned about the rebounding? Because OG's not a great rebounder, and Mitch, we look at his totals, but I think he's a better offensive rebounder than he is a defensive rebounder.
Definitely.
And part of defense is being able to close out those defensive possessions, with a rebound. So if you got, I mean, but Cat, you talking about the double big. Cat is though his rebounding hasn't been as good in the first series as it was for the season. He's a good rebounder. Mitch can give you defensive rebounds. I'm not saying he's a slouch at all. So you might be able to get away with taking um Hart off the floor. Bridges rebounding has gone up in the first Detroit series. And OG, you know. he says that he's flying around, or people say he's flying around. That puts him out of position. Okay, there's some long rebounds too, OG.
Harp probably told him, "Hey, those my
I
rebounds.
got it.
I got it. I got it.
Yep.
Take it easy.
You do what you
Throw
do
it
it.
up. Throw it up.
Yep.
Those my rebounds."
Um, Another thing, again, this is just really wishful thinking, but I wouldn't mind seeing a zone utilized. You know,
Oh
not
damn!
not not long term. You know what I mean? But you got to switch it up. My question to you guys is: if you've seen the Boston Orlando series at all, and if so, is there something you can pinpoint to why their 3-point shooting was down? The attempts, I think they had them down to like 30, 31,
30.
31 attempts
Yeah.
um a game. And I did
Yeah.
hear somewhere that we had them at a low attempts throughout the course of this season in those 4 losses, but they were pointing out that that was a positive or something that we could potentially continue to do. I didn't see any of the games, so I just
I
know
didn't
that
see any.
as the numbers,
Yeah.
I watched a couple, and for a couple of things,
their
uh,
length.
definitely their length. They're excellent rebounders. They do a thing where, before over they're overzealous offensive rebounding, they're getting back on defense. Like they were smart with that. And one thing that the stats will tell you that helps reduce fast breaks and those quick 3-point shots, they were under 11 turnovers per game. You know,
Mm.
so if they also run the shot clock down, they don't shoot a lot of fast shots, so that's making you have less possessions. So it's kind of like, football analogy. You got to run and shoot offense. Well, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna run the clock down every possession. We're gonna do 3 downs and to get a first down. We're not gonna just, do 20-yard pass plays, consistently. And Orlando did not take a lot of threes. So, if you miss a 3-point shot, that usually creates fast breaks, mismatches going back the other way. And yeah, so they just limited the possessions, I think. And by limiting the possessions, the shot attempts, and Orlando's a good defensive team. Definitely better than the Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I didn't watch the games, but I did see that stat, Tony, and I was thinking about that too, and I was like, you know, if we sell out to the 3-point line, and that we're not going to give up any 3-pointers, basically we are counting on Mikal Bridges and OG Ananobi to keep Tatum and Jalen Brown in front of them. If they shoot over the top and they make it, fine, but we're not giving you any outlets. But I think the challenge also is that they're not always just in isolation, right? They're going to put Brunson and they're going to put Cat in those pick and roll situations, and the
All
tough
game
thing
long.
all game long. And the tough thing is when it's Cat, I'll just talk about Cat. If Cat drops, Tatum can pull up. There's been times, and I know in the Detroit series, we've kind of had Cat come up to the level of the screen instead of dropping. But I don't know if it was game 3 or 4 in the regular season. Tatum just split it. And then once he got behind Cat, it was actually a dunk. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a challenge if he drops, it's a challenge if he steps up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we play the isolation, play the pick and roll, and not rotate off those 3-point shooters to give help. So that's a tough
So,
ask.
so in that situation, I think that's where Mitch does become valuable. You know, being that backline of backline of defense. If you're gonna in that situation where Tatum's splitting, it's not just a wide open lane, and I think that's where maybe some adjustments can be made. But there's also the math game of,
Yeah.
we don't want to give up a dunk, obviously, but that's a 2-pointer compared to an open three that they, that they thrive at. So
But you
it,
can't give up a layup line either.
I mean, it can't be consistent, or like you
Yeah.
got to figure that out. But again, it's two over the three.
You're gonna
But
have to pick
again,
your poison. But I can see it already. Knicks fans getting all upset. Like, you're not gonna be able to stop both. You selling out to the 3-point line. You hoping they miss these mid ranges and they don't get to the rim. You rotating off so that they don't give up dunks, and you hoping that who they leave open doesn't hit the three. I don't know if you're going to be able to take away everything from the Boston Celtics. You just hope that you pick one, and you
and
hope you do enough on the other end to make up for it.
typically Tibbs wants to protect the rim. Typically, he wants you to recover to the 3-point line.
Mhm.
If you're not starting Mitch, then I don't think the personnel dictates that philosophy. You know what I mean? Against this team in particular, I think you have to start at the 3-point line and figure out the interior.
Yeah, and to circle back to the Orlando series and the stats, and what Boston did compared to what they did in the regular season. In the regular season, I'm sorry, in the postseason, they had 78 field goal attempts per game, uh, and they made 36. Right in the regular season, they had 90 field goal attempts. So basically, they got 11 shots less than than what they did in the regular season. The regular season they had 48 field goal 3-point shots per game, and against Orlando only 31 shots from 3-point range. So they shot 17 less attempts.
Mhm.
This is ball control, running the clock down, minimizing your turnovers, getting back on defense when you miss a shot. You
Right.
know, like that's what I saw from Orlando. I think I saw maybe 3 of the games, and that's what I saw. It's like, man, they run the shot down, like it's like almost every shot they run the shot clock down to under 5 seconds. Like they're not just chucking it up. So you gotta know who you playing. Limit their possessions, limit their opportunities, limit their rhythm, limit their success.
Uh, Unfortunately, I feel like we do that to a detriment, and like the ask is to play faster. You know what I mean with us.
And in most teams,
Unfortunately,
it is absolutely an advantage.
yeah,
But
but
this team, it might not be.
I'm just saying, like you gotta be scorching hot. You gotta be scorching hot
yes,
every game if you want to win playing that way.
and your defense, like for us at our peak, the defense is generating the offense. You know what I mean? So that's when we're looking. That's when we're looking at our best. We're playing our fastest. You know what I mean? Because it's off of turnovers and stops. So I think that's when we need to play fast. Off of inbounds, it may be our best option to slow it down a little bit. The problem is when we slow it down, it becomes we're not running an offense slowing it down like Orlando is. You know what I mean? When we're slowing it down, it's usually because of ball dominance. And it's
Right.
usually somebody getting thrown a grenade with the shot clock going down. And
Right.
unfortunately, I don't think we play our best that way. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the catch-22 of it all.
Wait,
Yeah.
Let
yeah,
me let me
you
put
gotta
this
speak to
comment
that.
back up real quick. And just hold your thought, Shuttle. Shout out to Andrew. He said Boston had time off. The Knicks will be sharper early game one. Is a good shot for the Knicks. The Cavs had time off and showed 9 for 38 from three. I do think I'm not going to say the time off part is beneficial for us, But the fact that even though they have a clean bill of health, the fact that they're all collectively just coming back, maybe some rust with Holiday, maybe I know Brown's knee has been bulky, Tatum's wrist. I'm sure that's not 100%. I think those factor in, um, along with just this being the first game. Maybe we could smack him in the mouth quick, we surprise him, whatever the case. I think this is our best shot to kind of steal a game on the road. Um, I did want to say that, and then Shutter, what was you gonna say? While I find the super chat.
Well, I was mentioning the super chat. Yeah.
Oh, appreciate it. Probably my computer acting up. Here we
But
go.
I got
yeah,
it. Oh,
but
oh, I'm-
it's tough though when what you do best and works a large percentage of the time is what could be, your Achilles heel going against a particular team. So, Tibbs is the type of guy where he kind of sticks to his guns and it's like, oh, listen, we are who we are, and this is what got us here, and what we look like switching up now. You know what I mean? So, what I mean? Listen, I like spaghetti, I like pizza. That's what I want to eat. You know what I mean? Don't get brand new on me. You heard?
And even though I'm making some of the opposite points, I've always said that's one of the things that makes it hard to argue against him, right? Is like, or hard for you to think he's gonna change when he's really been successful at it. Um, the art man, formerly known as Steve, appreciate you for the super chat. He said, "Afternoon, y'all. Peace and blessings. I have a theory. If the Knicks stay within five threes made of Boston, they'll have a game close. Not only compete in the fourth, but I believe we will win." I mean, I think that's our number one key to being able to win is having the game close, having the game within striking distance. You know what I mean? And then that's when, what did Tim say? He's at his best when his best is needed. And after that game 6, part of me was like, I mean, I'm happy we won. Brunson was clutch, but there were points during that game where I was just like, oh, Brunson, he's forcing it. You know what I mean? Like he's not looking to share the ball. He's doing too much. And so I was kind of, but in the midst of me saying all that, my thought was, well, maybe we needed. That's what we needed from him. Like obviously we needed the game winner. Obviously we needed the performance. You know what I mean? And then Tim's, I seen it the next day. Tim said, "Hey, he's at his best when his best is needed." And I think there's no better way to put it with Brunson. Like he's been proving it. Get him within striking distance, and you know he'll take over from there. And I like his chances.
Yeah, I like Man's perspective too. Just identifying the 3 point dynamic, because if they hit 25, 33 pointers, and the Knicks hit
We had
12.
12. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the disparity is going to be too big, and it won't be close enough. It just won't. Just like
Especially with us not being a free throw shooting team, where I mean, we're not gonna necessarily win that battle, or it's not gonna be. If we do, it'll be marginal. You know what I mean? But I don't expect us to win. So it's not anything to offset that. You know what I mean? It's not like last year where the offensive rebounding was so dominant that offset some things that
right.
we were inefficient at. So I agree 100%. Appreciate the super chat, my guy.
Man. And
but
what what you were saying about Brunson, right?
oh, sorry.
Oh,
What you were saying about Brunson,
uh-huh.
for the game, I was kind of feeling the same way about Bridges in that game, but then he made a couple of key plays, and then the Knicks won the game. So in the post game, I didn't even bring it up, but I got to tell you, early on in that game, he was one of the people I was screaming at. Absolutely. Yo, am I missing something? Like, is this guy scared to get hit, scared to get touched?
Bridges.
Yeah, it's like I don't know players like when I look at him, when I look at his physique, pause, I look at his body type, his speed, his leaping ability, like all of these things, right? Like I put him in a category with a certain group of players that are able to turn the corner, get to the hoop, and get fouled at the hoop if they don't make those shots. Yo,
I don't.
where is he? Where is he with his get around corners, get to the hoop, get some contact, and get to the foul line? Because if he's get to the line more, that helps the defense set up and get prepared. It gets him some easy baskets. It gets him in the flow. Gets his shot. He sees the ball going in. But it's like he just dribbles, and then goes back out. And I feel like, yo, am I looking at RJ Barrett? What is going on right now? Too much.
I think it's a fine line, right? I think he's still finding his way. Like from being third guy, number one guy, kind of back to third guy, but also third guy now is not the same.
What's my point though? Is number one guy for him is still dribble, get into the paint, do a fadeaway shot, even if he's number one guy. And that's my point. I'm not talking about being the number one guy and being more aggressive. I'm saying like, yo, you don't like when he did that dunk. I was like, wow, I can't believe it. Like where is that? Like for him to
I don't know if you're gonna
I don't
see
think
the
that's
dunks.
his game,
I
Shuttle.
don't think you're gonna see
That's
the
not his
dunks.
game.
But
I think his game is the mid range.
he's a mid-range fadeaway shooter.
And he can manipulate, right? I think it's just something he has to continue to develop. He can manipulate and get to the rim. I just don't think that's his end goal every possession. Number one, we already all know his go-to is the fadeaway, right? Is the mid-range fadeaway. So what you're asking for, Shuttle, what I think his next step is the counter from that. Because that's his end goal, right? If I can't get to the rim, this is my go-to. He needs a counter from that. And I think he'll get it, but it's hard to develop that in the middle of the season,
But
in the middle of with the role. Go ahead, Quinn.
yeah, two things. I would have to look at you know, throughout his career, what has been his percentage of shots at the rim, and is this season any different? Right.
Okay.
So I will look that up. Number two, his mid range is money. Like he has to be, and I'll look it up on cleaning the glass after this. His the percentile that he's in for his position for the mid range has to be up there. So I'm not even sure that he needs a counter, because once he gets in, they not stopping that. Like that's my usually you need a counter when somebody stops it. When he gets to his spot, that shit is pure. You know?
I mean,
But yeah.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Finish your thought, and then I'll go.
I'm just saying that every player have their spots. They have their spots. And that's Mikal Bridges' spot in the mid range. Once he get in there and he pulls back, it's a wrap. That's just that, that's just him, and I don't know if he needs to change it to get to the line more. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, maybe due to usage, but when he played with the Nets, he averaged 5.9 rim shots.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Knicks this season, he's at 3.8 rim shots.
Mm-hmm.
I think
so. He's down to
okay. I think part of that though is what I was saying initially, being the third guy. You know what I mean? As the number one guy, however long it takes to get to your you know what I mean, your finish, the ball's in your court to do that. Now it's more about quicker decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have that luxury of breaking it down and until you make your decision.
And what's the percentage of shots too? Like, like when he was 1.2, when he was 5.9, what was the percentage of shots? Like he could be at 3.8, but it could still be the same percentage of shots. Um,
I liken him to Kerry Kittles, um,
wow.
Rip Rip Hamilton, like those type of players. But it's interesting because you said you have a type of player group that you put Mikhail in. What were the players that you were referring to, Shuttle?
Those players were run off the screens, catch and shoot guys.
Right.
He's not really a run off the screen, catch and shoot guy. And
He was in Phoenix though.
Kerry Kittles used to get that rock though and get to the hoop. Shout out to Kerry Kittles. He used to get busy. He used to get to the hoop. Now he had some point guard play that got him the ball in more favorable positions, and made it the case, which goes back to the number one thing. We got to have better ball movement.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm referencing his full career, and again, he used to come off screens in Phoenix a lot more than he's doing here, or in Brooklyn. Obviously, because Brooklyn, I think the ball was in his hand more rather than playing off of screens and things. I think that's something that needs to be implemented for him more here. But a lot of his shots are off screens. They're just not the same. They're not off the same type. You know what I mean? He's not doing the Steph Curry running around
baseline curl screens.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the difference. But as far as like the fast break, the cutting, the backdoor, that's the game, the style of play that he reminds me of. Throwbacks like Rip Hamilton.
But it just feels like even in those cases where he does a backdoor cut and he's going to the hoop, it just feels like he'll pass it out or won't shoot it and dribble it out versus going hard to the hoop and kind of like looking for the contact so he can get to the foul line. That's the part where it feels like
I hear what you're saying.
I agree.
It's like he doesn't want to get hit.
I agree. I think that's part of why the fadeaway, the mid range is his go to, and this is why I think he needs that counter. As good as the shot is, I think he does have to get to the rim more. I think he's capable, but I think his mindset is, if I can't just finish, if it's not a 100%, like I'm a finish, I'm not taking a chance. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm not taking a chance of it getting blocked, it getting stopped, and he's not thinking, all right, I'm gonna get to the line. I think that's what the difference is. He needs that. No, I'm gonna get to the line. I think he has that ability. I think he has that in him. I agree with you in that sense. He wants the sure thing, and for him that is the mid range.
Low risk,
low risk, and high reward. High reward for him. But I agree. I think he can. I think he can. Shot Queen or somebody say take the floor. I'm just reading your comment, show. Oh, that's what you had, right? All right, I'm good.
Yeah.
Any worries on it? What are your main worries on the Celtics side? I'm gonna say obviously number one is, the 3-point attempts that they gave in the regular season. If that's what they're doing against us, that's gonna be a problem because I don't think we match it. Shout out to the super chat who said, keep it within 5 attempt difference. I think that we kind of do need to do that. Bench play, we talked about that on our side, but I mean their bench is fully utilized, fully confident, know what they expectations are when they come in the game. You know what I mean? Their roles are defined. There's no question, and they're confident in them. And their coach has no problem using them for extended minutes. Um, I think those are my two biggest concerns. Like I'm confident, even though the out, you can't stop Tatum. I'm confident with OG on him. You know what I mean? Make the shots difficult. I'm confident. I'm actually more confident now in Bridges on Brown than I was like mid season. I think Bridges has stepped up defensively a lot. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, I think another big point for us to win is attacking Tatum and Brown. Like, make these guys work on the defensive end
Right.
because a lot of the times, and it's not because they're bad defenders. Uh, Tatum, Brown, obviously better than Tatum, but a lot of times they get the rest on defense. A lot of times they don't got to do no dirty work. They don't got to work as hard possession after possession on defense. If you making them work on defense, I think that takes away from their energy on offense. So OG, be aggressive. McCall, be aggressive. And if they try to put these guys put one of these guys on Hart so they could potentially play some help defense, Hart, you got to be dangerous. You got to shoot that three. You know what I mean? You got to make yourself an offensive threat. But those are the
Yeah.
big things for me. Um,
Boston got a long list of things to worry about, but like the reoccurring theme is the 3-point attempts, the field goal attempts. You got to minimize your turnovers. You got to get back on defense. You got to milk the shot clock, keep the runs to a minimum. Like,
Facts.
yeah, you got to treat it like it all matters. This isn't the thing where you can let them go on a 12-1, a 12-0 run and not, like, no, like they scored 3 baskets. That's it. 3 in a row, you got to call a timeout, and you just have to, especially if it's in Boston. You've got to keep the momentum under control and not let them get too overconfident or in the groove, because I mean these guys are champions already. So the last thing they need to do is start feeling like they in the groove tonight or any night.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. I think
like,
I- this is a bad matchup for the Knicks. You think about matchups, right? This is not a good matchup for the Knicks. Partly because we have two players that they could take advantage of, and they have the players who can take advantage of them, right? By putting them in pick and rolls and being able to be the ball handler on the pick and roll. And defensively, for the most part, their offensive players are above average defensive players um, as well. You know what I mean? Like they have somebody that can guard Cat. They have somebody that can, guard Brunson. But I'm with you, Tony. I think the 3-point attempts is going to be an issue, and I think a big part of it is also because the Knicks don't take a lot of 3 points. So that there's a numbers gap right there. If it holds, they took 48 to DJ Shuttle's point, 48 3-pointers in the regular season, number one in the league. And the Knicks took 34 3-pointers on the season, number 27 in the league. And that type of disparity, regardless of everything else that goes on in the game, you damn near got to shoot 100%. If you taking 34, you better hit about 75, 80% of them
what
to keep.
what's
Yeah.
more likely? The Celtics staying at that 31 that they were in the Orlando series. The Knicks raising up to 30
I don't know if the Knicks
plus.
can do 31, but I do think their 3-point attempts will be down. I do think that's going to be a concerted effort for the Knicks. But this is the thing, too. The Knicks haven't been, in my opinion, very disciplined when it comes to rotations. Like they're so quick to go into rotations. A person just fakes toward the key, they're collapsing. Like you can't do that against this team. Whip, whip, whack with the pass, and they're gonna find the open guy. So the 3-point attempt disparity is a concern. The fact that they're two-way players and they have people that can guard Cat and Brunson is a concern. The fact that they could put Cat and Brunson in pick and rolls is a concern. And as much as I love Josh Hart, the fact that or Cat, whichever way you look at it, the fact that they could put their center on Josh Hart and keep that center close to the rim, is also a concern, particularly if it's Porzingis, because he may not be a great defender in terms of lateral quickness, but in terms of rim protection, unless something has changed, I haven't looked at the stats. Unless something has changed this year, he's a pretty good rim protector.
Even if it changed, we know the capability, and like if you're letting him be a roam defender as opposed to like a on ball defender, you're gonna lose.
Right. And the last point, that they're going to pull our center. Not that Towns is a good rim protector anyway, but if Mitchell Robinson is in the game, he has to play at the 3-point line, kind of lessening his rim protection ability. Unless the Knicks do the same thing and put Hart on Porzingis, and that allows Mitch to stay at the 4, but it depends on who that 4 is. You know what I mean? If it's Tatum, it poses an issue.
I mean, honestly,
it works
zone,
better
that's
when
where
they
the
have,
zone could work in stretches.
when they have the bench in, they have, they sometimes have Luke Cornett and Horford in there together. So that's when you could potentially, and this is where you got to kind of see, well, what are they doing and how are we going to counter it? I do want to double back real quick on those 3-point numbers. Just looking it up. So now, while Boston does shoot a gazillion threes per game, more than the Knicks, percentages actually are the same. They both shot 36.9% for ninth and 10th respectively in the league. Actually, they were tied with OKC, who was at 8. So they're the 3-way tie for the 8th spot percentage wise, and they made less than 6 threes more per game. So
you mean when they were playing head to head?
No, regular season.
Makes. Okay, got you. Makes.
But to your point though, head to head, maybe other teams are better at defending it than the Knicks. So, that hence they score better against the Knicks in those games. But to what we were talking about, right? Well, what did Orlando do? Like, it's a copycat league. What did they do? What worked, and what can we take away from what they did? And so hopefully the Knicks can implement some of that and shoot similar percentages and keep their attempts from 48 and get it down to 36, 35, 34.
Yeah,
you already heard Tibbs talk about him watching the Orlando Celtics series and potentially going back to watch it some more.
Can I just add something there?
Absolutely.
Orlando's a better defensive team than the Knicks, and they have more length than the Knicks. They were able to put Jonathan Isaac out on Porzingis. I wish we had this guy. He's an amoeba, right? And the Black, is Black the point guard or backup point guard?
Backup point guard.
He's like what, 6'6"?
Yeah, 7-foot wingspan. Back to my point.
We're gonna take the parts that we can. We're gonna take the parts that we can.
But that's an example of DeLon Wright maybe needing some minutes.
And Precious. You know what I mean? Like, I hope Tibbs. You know what I mean? I'm not saying all right, you gotta play this guy. I just hope he figures out some strategic things that we can notice in the midst of what. Oh, okay. He's doing this for this reason, or he figured out Precious might be better suited for this series. He may not have been good for last week.
And then the double-edged sword of that, Tony, will be the people that don't really rock with Tibbs anyway, and they're gonna say,
Oh, he should have been did it.
You ain't never did that. You ain't never did that. And if it don't work, you ain't never did that. Oh, now you gonna try something new? Now you gonna try that? Oh, now you think it's gonna work? Yo, I mean, you can't make these people happy, man.
I know you're doing a prediction show. I just got one prediction question.
Yes.
Who do you predict to be the X factor for the Knicks, potential X factor for the Knicks? And you can go, and obviously when I say that, we're not talking about Brunson. Like, so
Right.
who's the guy that steps up in this series? And this could be win or lose. You know what I mean? But hey, this guy came to play this series. Who's your prediction?
I'll jump in. Steph is stinking. I see the wheels.
I know, because I said it can't be Brunson. It's like,
well, yeah, Brunson's not an X factor. That's a main factor. We talking about
factor.
we talking about side dishes and desserts being the thing you talk about later when you talk about the meal, right? So I feel like that for the Knicks to compete and be successful in this series, that would need to if that's happening, Mikal Bridges is having a good series. So I would have to go with Mikal Bridges. I can't go with anybody off the bench because I mean without injuries, they're not going to be playing enough to have that much of an impact. And yeah, I think if Mikal is exceeding his regular season numbers, if he's great percentages from three, amazing defense, that could be the X factor in this. He's gonna have to switch with OG, playing Tatum some between Tatum and Brown. This is Wingstop. This is what we brought you in here for. So
Facts.
this is an opportunity to say, those 5 picks, the 5 pick conversation can be put to the side for a little while if you have a great series here. So again, I'm gonna go with Mikal Bridges.
Yeah. I actually have 2 duos that I'm picking between. And it's the wing duo of OG and Bridges, and just their defense on Towns, on Tatum and Brown, but also what they're doing offensively to make those guys work or to make the coach make a switch and put some. So I'm between that duo, and I'm between the Josh Hart Cat duo. Can Hart hit enough threes that they have to take that center off of him, or can Cat dominate that small guy so that they have to take the center off of Hart? And I'm trying to figure out which one of them is more of an X factor. And it could be
or
a
which one?
wash, but I'm going with the wing stop. I'm going with the wing stop, man. I need OG and Bridges to be two-way stars in this series. Two-way stars on both ends. And that's asking a lot because they are guarding high usage guys. But the
Queen,
Knicks gonna win this series. They gotta be two-way stars in this series.
I agree with you guys both. I'm gonna give my input on that, and I'm gonna go a different route though. I
Okay.
agree with you guys both though, but where I disagree with you, Queen, as far as it's asking a lot. No, it's asking to do what we brought you here to do. Like that's what we brought him here for. So it's just
Yeah.
asking them to kind of as far as Mikal specifically, I think he does have a good series, particularly. OG, he could kind of stay the par. Maybe he could step it up a little bit. You know what I mean? But I'm okay with where he's been in that last series. If that continues, I could maybe ask for a little bit more offense. But I think he's been great. You know what I mean? Mikal, on the other hand, because he's been spotty, but he's had big moments. You know what I mean? In the last series, like, and I said it early in the year, like maybe we just need moments, and it don't have to be like standout performance. I think he could have a I think he could turn it around and have a good offensive series and a good defensive series this year. It kind of felt like Mikal's been finding his way, or just finding a way to imprint the game. But I think this series he could probably have a more consistent balance of it all the way around. I think OG's been balanced. So if he could step it up a little offensively, I think that would be dope. But for me, as far as the X factors, I'm a steal from you, Queen, and give a duo. And it could be any combination. But we need two impact bench players. I don't care what two it is. You know what I mean? We need Pete Deuce. You know what I mean? We need headache for the other team, Cam. Or we need
throwback Robinson.
I mean, yeah, throwback Robinson would be great. I would love for it to be like Robinson and Shamet. You know what I mean? If Shamet could come in and knock down that three ball consistently,
changes everything,
and just be a pest defensively. Like I don't want. Obviously, he ain't locked down, but I think he's feisty enough that he could be a adjutant or irritant. And yeah, a peak Mitch, that would be great. I'm not down on Deuce, but I'm not confident in him right now. Like I thought he would figure it out within the 6 games of the last series. I don't know that he did.
Can I piggyback off of Deuce real quick?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like you miss shots. You have a bad shooting series. The confidence. That's one thing I never questioned about Deuce was his confidence, whether he was shooting well or wasn't shooting well. In game 6, when he went to the basket and threw it, it was a layup and he hit it hard off the backboard. And then the other time they found him underneath the rim where I felt like there was enough time to sneak it up there. But okay, he didn't feel like he had enough time and he dribbled out and dribbled it out of bounds. I said, I was like, come on. Like, so that's the thing. Is it a confidence? Because that's one thing I always said about, like, this guy's confidence. Like, God, he's coming in here just pulling.
He looked like it was his first playoffs. He looked like he'd never been to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, and not so much like deer in headlights, but it looked like the moment was too big for him. Like like everything he did bad, it felt like at a crucial time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Granted, that could have just been the situation because the games were so close and tight. Everything was crucial.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm kind of I don't know if Deuce is gonna turn it around.
All right. What I will say, lastly, well, I don't know about lastly, but what I will say is the intensity of the Detroit series is something that I hope, has the Knicks coming over. It's like, well, like maybe you fight a big guy, so now when you got to go against another big guy, now you bringing it to that guy, as opposed to kind of like being on your heels and being defensive. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Hey, if it mirrors that series, I'm not mad at all because again, if the game is close, I got confidence that Brunson can bring it home.
I'm talking about the intensity, Tone.
Nah, I hear you.
I'm talking about like coming out swinging, knocking guys down a little bit. No layup rules. You know what I mean? I'm talking about that kind of intensity.
I think that works in our favor as well. Now, but I also think the refs kind of determine that. We've seen, and what I will say though is it seems like the refs, that's been league wide. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen a lot of games other than the Knicks this playoffs, but even the ones I've seen, it's been a lot of chippiness, a lot of letting things go, a lot. So if that continues, I do think that favors us, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Celtics fans feel the opposite. I've been watching a lot of Celtics content over the last couple of days. I know you have too, Queen. Um, the mainstream media has been worse than the podcast media. You know what I mean? Like the podcast media, they obviously they confident, they think they're gonna win and everything else, but they respect the Knicks.
Right.
The mainstream media, they don't give us respect at all. You know, I
They
don't think
don't.
they look at it like the regular season and the postseason are different, because that's all they referencing, how bad they beat us, and our record against the top teams, and uh,
They're not paying attention.
they really not. They're looking at the headlines of the year, and not they not watching us, because I heard one media guy talk about how, oh, they got Mikal Bridges to guard Jason Tatum or Jaden Brown, but he can't guard both of them, and Cat's not a good defender and Brunson's not a good defender, and I'm like, so you're not even gonna mention OG. Like you're not even gonna mention the main guy that's gonna be on Tatum. Oh, y'all not watching the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like, so
Or that we lost 3-1 to Detroit in the regular season and beat them in the first round. Like, you know, couple.
3 games in Detroit.
Yep.
which
Yep.
let's see if we can get two in Boston. But that's the show. Let me just shout out a couple of people in the chat. I see Knicks and Dimes.
Knicks and
Appreciate you. I
dimes,
always told
dimes
you
and
that
Knicks.
that was what my first thought of a podcast was gonna be, and then I seen there was one out there already. I was like, well, great minds think alike, But happy with Knicks and Bruises. So appreciate you jumping in here, Jay Williams. Got Tay 234, New York Knicks City Squad. Andrew, of course, always in the building. Who else we got? Boston J. Andrew and Knicks fans, good luck. You know what, Boston J? Appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by. I've been watching you guys' content as well.
Yeah. He need an invite to the Losers Lounge.
You know what? It feel like a lounge type of night tonight. We might have to make sound happen. Shout out to the Podfather Sim. Nothing
Shout
but
out to
Knicks.
Sim.
He'll be on tonight. Queens Court on the Nothing But Knicks channel. We'll be on tonight.
Yeah, right here. Triple header.
Queen, when's your next show? Shuttle, what you got going on?
My next show is
I know
tomorrow
you had
morning.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, guys.
No, I was just saying, Shuttle. I know you was in the streets this weekend.
Yeah, no, but Queen, she was putting her 1-2 on.
I mean, real quick. Tomorrow morning, me and Jeff doing a post game recap reaction show. 8:00 in the morning tomorrow morning.
Early birds.
Early birds.
And that's on Dope Soul Sports.
Yeah, that's on Dope Soul Sports. Yeah, I dropped the talk, Tony.
Okay.
It just didn't roll off the tongue as well. So now Dope Soul Sports. But
right.
Yeah, tomorrow morning 8 a.m. Hopefully we're talking about this victory.
Yes, sir. I hope so.
So, every Friday night, DJ Soto 108 Soul, iHeartRadio, Alexa Siri play 108 Soul. Right. Don't worry about the apps. You got Alexa Siri, talk to your girl, tell her get you connected. Big news, just got just got booked for a headline gig for next summer in Barbados.
Nice.
Ultimate Soul Escape excursion. We're going to Barbados August 26th, 20 August 21st to the 24th, I believe are the exact dates. DJ
Is that a
shuttle.
cruise?
No, it's going to a brand new hotel it's a refurbished brand new hotel of
Okay.
of a quality brand. The hotel is
Oh, I may
Royalton
be there. You know how I
Royal,
travel. Let me
I was gonna
know.
say, you
Let me
said
know.
next year.
August of
Let me
2026.
know.
Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. Because you're giving me time to Queen.
Yes,
Queen,
yes.
Put that
don't just
Let's
$99
do it. Let's
deposit
do
down.
it.
Put the $99 deposit down, and you can just
For real?
spend it over time. Yeah,
Whoa.
send.
They don't. We got to do that
I
on
got
our
the link.
own, or they have where we could do it through them.
I have the link. I'm DJ. I'm
Oh,
DJ and host. So I got the link for you. I'll send you the link. And I probably should have put it in the chat, but I'll send it to
Yeah.
you guys. We got
I'll
some
be
time.
there.
Yeah.
I'll be
So
there.
we can't announce it yet, but we got some performers that'll be there, all inclusive. Um, and it's a mature crowd, and it's going to be great. The team that I'm working with, Ultimate Escapes, they've been doing these type of trips for 13 years. They do a couple of trips every year. Amazing group of promoters I've been working with through the city for a number of years as well. So now I'm just getting that what we call Passport Gang. You heard? Let's go. Passport Gang only. Step up. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
I'm in there.
paperwork right. Slide to the left.
And
I'm
I just
in
got my
there.
pass. I just got my passport last year, so
So we don't
hey,
worry about it expiring. You
let,
good to
let me
go.
let me
Yeah,
let me
I'm
get a
good. I just renewed
let me
mine.
get a
I'm
stamp.
good. I'm
Let me get a
good.
stamp.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonder Woman saying share the link. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get it for you on the show tonight on Queen's Court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
I'll do it
eh, eh,
also on Dope Soul Sports throughout the year. Maybe we
yeah,
could get a whole
yes.
contingent
Matter of
of
fact,
Knicks fans. It's a
we,
whole year to plan. Come on
we,
now.
we might even
$50 a month.
make a little commercial and figure this thing out, Shuttle. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, nah, dope.
So
Nah, I appreciate it, and anybody that from the Knicks family that comes out, and of course, my Knicks family will get the special shout outs and all of that from
For
me.
sure. For
There's gonna
sure.
be live performances, comedy show. It's an action packed weekend.
oh yeah,
We
this
might have a family reunion.
yeah we
We
might
might.
that actually sounds like the MBK. We might just have to make it a movement.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
the MBK family takeover.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
you mentioned family. My family. I have family from Barbados. My father's side is
Uh,
Bayesian. So
Yeah.
I
Nice.
have family in New York that is going to come, and then I have family that's in Barbados. So this is a chance for me to use it to link up and see the family back home too. So that was one of the main reasons I said, all right, I got to do this. Once I saw it come across my timeline with CEO Les and yeah, Jay Will, man. Hopefully we see you out there, man. You know what I mean? And we
We
make
got
it
a
happen.
whole year.
word.
That's what's up.
Now I gotta be never mind. I got yeah. I'm gonna figure this out.
For
I'm gonna figure
sure.
this out.
Yeah, we got we got about 15 months, 16 months.
That's dope.
More than enough time.
Yeah, we gonna promote this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate
For
it.
sure.
But
Let's
yeah,
go next
Queen.
tonight, game one. Let's go.
Yes, I'm excited. Um,
Drew Holiday, Billy Holiday, don't matter what day. Nixon 7. Let's go.
let's go.
You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate you guys jumping in. Appreciate you guys in the chat. I see y'all tonight. See you tonight. Shuttle. I don't know if you're gonna make it, but you know what I mean. If not,
Yeah.
on the rewind. But I'm gonna hit you up behind the scenes and figure out. Well, no, one, I want the link. You can just text me
Definitely
the
need the
link,
link.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll
Yep.
figure out how we could promote this and make sure everybody
Right.
knows. But But yeah, that's it, man. Until next time, your blackest time. Shout out to the chat, replay
Shout
game.
out to the chat, replay
Appreciate
game, and
y'all.
those that's not in the chat or comment on the replay game, but watch anyway. We appreciate
That's right. That's right. The silent viewers, that's what I call
the
them.
silent
Yeah,
viewers,
I mean,
right.
don't be shy, but yeah, I mean, we appreciate you anyway. But yeah, we out of here. Till next time. Your blackest time.